Works represent Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. The second epic novel by Dave Blinky. Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilet. Attack of the Talking Toilet. Tra-la-la. For Alan Bongo. Who the hell is that? Chapters. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, really guzini. Hello. Before you read this book, there's some things you should know. So Harold and I created this information parliament to fill you on the details. Please don't let this comic fall into the wrong hands. First page. The top secret truth about Captain Underpants by George Beard and Hollow Hutchins, who deny everything. Once upon a time, there were these cool kids named George and Harold. We're cool, me too. They made their own superhero named Captain Underpants. Cha-la-la! Everybody thought the comics were funny. Ha 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 ha. Except for the mean old principal, Mr. Crumb. Blah 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 blah. One time, Mr. Crumb was being mean to Jordan Hound. Blah 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 blah. Sorry about the they hypnotized Mr. Crumb. I will obey. And then they turned him into Captain Underpants. But Mr. Crumb thought he was really Captain Underpants. He jumped out the window to fight crimes. Uh-oh. Tra-la-la. George and Harold tried to stop him, but they first had to say the word. Bad guy. Kaboom! When they got back to school, George poured water onto Captain Underpants' head. He turned back into Mr. Crumb, but something was wrong. Blah, 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 blah. Because now, for every strange reason, every time Mr. Crumb hears someone snap their fingers, he turns back into Captain Underpants. Cha-la. So whatever you do, don't snap your fingers around Mr. Crumb. Please, please, please don't snap your fingers. The end. It's not the end of the story. Treehouse Comic Inc. Chapter 1. George and Harold. This is George Beard and Hollow Hutchins. George is the kid on the left with with the tie, flat top. Harold is one on the right. Harold is the one on the right with the t-shirt and bad haircut. Now remember that. Depending on who you asked, you'd probably hear a lot of different things about George and Harold. Their teacher, Mrs. Ribble, might say that George and Harold were disrespectful. I don't know how to say it. And behavior challenged. Their grammar teacher, Mr. Meaner, might add that they were in serious need of a major adjustment, Principal Mr. Crump will probably have a few more choice words to include, like sneaky up and criminal misbehavior, and I will get those boys if it's the last thing I do. You get the idea. Next page. But if you ask their parents, they'd probably tell you that George and Harold were smart and sweet and very good-hearted, even if they a bit silly at times. I'd have to agree with their parents. But even if they're silly, I don't know how to say it, did get them into a lot of trouble sometimes. In fact, it once got them into so much trouble that accidentally almost destroyed the whole planet with an evil army of vicious attacking toilets. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. Chapter 2, this story. Which is on chapter 2. One fine morning at Jeter Harker's elementary school, Jordan Howard had just gotten out of the 4th grade remainder gym class, and when they saw a big sign in the hallway, it was an announcement of the second intervention constants. Jordan Howard had formed memories of the last year invasion content, but this year convince was a bit different. The first prize winner got to be principal the first day. Wow, said George. Whoever gets to be principal gets to make up their own rules for the whole school, and everybody in the school has to follow the rules. We have to win prize this year, exclaimed George. Just then, Jordan Howell, Principal Mr. Crump, showed up. Aha, he shouted. I beg you two are up to no good. Not really, said George. We were just reading about this year's contest. Yeah, said Harold. We're going to win the first prize in the contest, and we're gonna be the principals for the day. Ha 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 ha, laughed Mr. Crump. Do you honestly think I'd let you two enter this year's contest after that stunt you pulled last year invention contest? Jordan Hall smiled and fell back to the first annual invention contest. The flashback. It was about 1 earlier, and all of the facility and students of Gerald kids. Elementary school has gathered in the gymnastical for what would later be known as sticky chair incident. Jordan Howell stepped to the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, said George, Harold and I had invented something that you to keep you all glued to your seats. Yes, said Harold. We called it glue. Mr. Crumb became very angry. You two did not invent glue, he shouted. He stood up to the microphone, away from Harold and chair, and his chair stood up with him. Everybody laughed. Everybody in the gymnast laughed. The school security, Mrs. Anthrop, stood up to help remove Mr. Crumb's chair from his pants. Her chair stood up with her. Everybody in the gymnastic laughed harder. The other teachers stood up, and you guessed, they were all stuck to their chairs as well. Everybody in the audience howled with laughter. One kid stood up to go to the bathroom, and his chair came up with him. The audience stopped laughing so hard they quickly checked their chairs, and suddenly the laughter stopped completely. Everybody in the whole school was glued to their seats. You see, while it was true that George and Harold had not invented glue, they had invented a new kind of glue by simply mix rubber, cement, and with concrete. Orange juice mix. They had created a quick dryer. They had a quick dryer body heat activator glue when they applied this special glue to everybody in the gymnastic except very early the morning. Everybody in the gymnastic were glaring at Jordan Howell and seething with anger. What a good idea, said George. Well, said Howell. Run, cried George. Okay. George and Howell were grinning from ear to ear, remembering their silly invention and the chaos that followed it. That was hilarious, laughed Harold. Yeah, chuckled George. It will be harder to top that this year. Well, you won't get a chance this year, said Mr. Crump. He took out the magnifying glass. He held it up to the fine print on the sign. This contest is open to all students in the third or fourth grade, except George Beard and Hollow Touches. You mean we can't enter the contest? Asked Harold. It's worse than that, laughed Mr. Crumb. You boys can't even attend this year's contest. I'm putting you two in study hall that all day. Mr. Crump turned and walked away, laughing ridiculously. Rats, said Harold. How are we going to do now? Well, said George, you know the old saying, if you can't join them, beat them. The invention. Chapter 4. Earlier that evening, George and Harold sneaked back to the school with their supplies, and they crept to the gymnast and peeked around. I think somebody's still here, whispered Harold. Oh, it's just Melvin Sneedley, said George. Melvin was the brainlick. He was busy putting some last minute touches on his new invention for the contest. Electric apple, automatic shoe, pastry 2000. We should wait here until he leaves, whispered Howell. No way, said George. He could be here all night. Let's just go over and talk to him. When Melvin saw George and Howell approaching him, he was not happy. Oh no, he said. I bet you guys are here to mess with everybody's invention. Nice guess, said. We listen. Promise to not mess with your invention. If you promise not to tell anybody that you saw us here tonight. Melvin looked lovely at his invention, and Victorious agreed. I promise, he said. Great, said Harold. Say, what is that invention of yours anyways? It's just like looks like a photocopy machine. Well, it used to be a photocopy machine, said Melvin, but I made some major adjustments to now it an invention that will revolutionize the world. I call it the pastry 2000. It revolves the world, and you named it pastry? Asked Harold. Yes, said Melvin. Pastry is an occupied photo and then transformation. I'm sorry, I asked Harold. Said I sorry, I asked, said Harold. to Detroit, said Melvin. The Pastry 2000 can take any one-dimension image and create a living, breathe, a three-dimension copy of the image placed. For example, take this ordinary photograph of a mouse. Melvin placed the photo of the mouse onto the Melvin placed the photo of the mouse onto the glass screen of the Pastry 2000, and pressed start. The lights in the gymnast dimmed as all the power in the entire school seemed to stuck into the Pastry 2000. Soon, the machine began to vibrate and hum loudly too, and tiny bolts of kinetic electricity snapped out of underneath. I hope that thing doesn't explode, said Harold. Oh, nothing. Oh, this is nothing, said Melvin. You should have seen how the Pastry 2000 reacted when I copied its puddled. Finally, after a series of flash and loud zaps, everything stopped. A tiny ding was heard, then a tiny mouse crawled out of the side door of the Pastry 2000 onto the floor. Isn't it wonderful? Exclaimed Melvin. George inspected the mouse closely. That's a great trick, George laughed. You really had me going for a while. It's not a trick, cried Melvin. The Pastry 2000 really does bring photos to life. I've created living things from paintings and drawings. Yeah, right, said Harold. Laughed Harold. And I thought we were con artists. George and Harold walked away, chunking. It was time to move on bigger and better things. George and Harold went to the other end of the gymnast, opened their backpacks, and began to work. George buzzed himself by turning all the spray nozzles on the automatic dog washer around while Harold filled up the soup tank with India ink. What? India? I'm from India. That doesn't say India. Automatic dog wash. Click, 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 click. Ink. Ping pong service-o-matter. And then they moved on on the volcano. The detective, will you please pass me the big bottle of butterscotch, puddling, and a Philippine head screwdriver? Asked George. Sure, said George, and he carefully inserted eggs into the electric ping pong ball service. Ball. The invention contest. The following day started out sunny and cheerful. The students and facility filled onto the gymnast and checked out the seats very carefully for sitting down. Greetings, said Mr. Crump, who was standing up at the microphone. You don't need to worry about the sticky seats today, he said. I've taken measures to ensure that this invention contest won't be a disaster like last year. Oh, yeah, and by the way, this is I think Dave Linkey's sister. It says it in the fun fact. No, it doesn't have fun fact. We already said it down in a Mazdi. A third grade stepped on stage to dimension her automatic dog washer. First, Maddie said, "You pull your dog in the tub when you press this button." Madison said, pressed the start button, and first nothing happened, and suddenly a sprout of inky black water sprayed up. And out of the crowd, everybody except the dog got soaked. As Madison tried desperately to turn the sprayers, I can't stop it, she cried. Someone turned all the novels around. Now who could have done that? Asked Mr. Crump. Okay. Next up was Donnie Chauffeur with his electric ping pong ball service. He turned the machine on. Immediately it began hurling extra large grade eggs into the crowd. Pew 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 went the machine. Plus 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 went the eggs. I cannot turn the machine on, cried Donnie. Someone jammed a paper clip onto the controller. Now who could have done that? Asked Miss Ribble. Freddie Monte's volcano decoder was also a big flop. When Freddie connected the circuits on the 9-volt battery, a large spring which had crawled out of the center of his volcano launched high into the crowd. It landed somewhere between the third and fourth rows. Hey, whined Winnie, did someone put pudding put it in my volcano. Now who could have done that? Asked the misdemeanor. Sorry. The rest of the day went on a much the same way, with people shouting every from who put oatmeal in my solar power leaf blower to hey, who put all my mice of the treadmill do boogie gymnast, and the second intervention convention had to be called off. How could this have happened? Cried Mr. Crump as he wiped chocolate syrup, pencil shaving, and cream of mushroom soup and off his face. And Sir Miss Jordan Harold have been studying in hall for all day long. I put them myself. Excuse me, Mr. Crump, said Melvin. I think I have an answer to your question. Busted. Uh-oh. Crash! Went the door to the study hall room. Mr. Crump stomped in like a crazy person. Jordan Howell had never seen him this upset before. You boys are in so much trouble, shouted Mr. Crump. I'm putting you to on permanent detention for the rest of the year. Wait a second, cried George. You can't prove anything yet, said Harold. We've been here all day. Mr. Crump smiled devilishly, and he called towards the door. Oh, Melvin, he called. Melvin neatly stepped into the room covered in mustard, egg, shell eggs, and ready coconut. They did it, Melvin said, pointing at Jordan Howell. I saw them last night in the gym. Melvin, cried George, horrified. You promised? Changed my mind, Melvin grimaced smugly. Have fun in detention. The intervention concurrent detention. After school, Mr. Trump unsure Jordan Howell into the detention room and wrote a long sentence on the chalkboard. From now on, growled Mr. Crump, you boys will spend 2 hours a day after copying this sentence all over the board. I want every chalkboard in this room filled completely. On his way out of the door, Mr. Crump turned and said with an evil grin, and only if either of you leaves my room, the reason I'm going to suspend you both. You have to write that. So, 5. Now, as you might have guessed, writing sentences was nothing new to Jordan Howell. The two boys waited until Mr. Crump left the room. Then they each took 4 homemade wooden rods out of their backpacks. The rods had holes in them that George and Harold drilled in George's dad's wood shop. George screwed the rods on together while Harold intended a piece of chalk into both holes. That's pretty intelligent. They each took a pole and began copying Mr. Crumb's sentence. Every time they wrote one sentence and one wooden pole made 20, which made 12. Yeah, it's 12. Every chalkboard in the room was completely filled. George and Harold sat down and admitted their work. We've got a lot of time on our hands now, said George. Got any ideas? Let's make a new comic book, said Harold. Now, so the two boys took out some paper and pens and created an all new adventure about their favorite superhero. It was called Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Talking Toilets. That was the front cover. That's why they named it. By George Beard and Harold Hodges. Captain and the Attack of the Talking. One day at school, everything was normal. Was pretty much normal. The lunch ladies were serving toasted rat sandwich. The principal was yelling blah blah blah. The gym teacher was being mean to everyone. My grandpa can run faster than you guys. And then a UFO appeared. Is that the school of the evil ray? The ray made all the toilets come to life. It made it then evil too. The toilets were hungry. Yum yum, eat 'em up. Yum yum, eat 'em up. So they ate the gym teacher. Her toilets just scratched somebody's car and ate the gym teacher. Lord have mercy, was it my car? Just look at Joffrey. Captain Underpants! Captain Underpants, Captain. Captain Underpants ran to the storage room, yum yum, eating up, and found a bunch of plungers. He put them in the toilet. Their mouth got stuck. Tra-la-la. Hooray for Captain Underpants! Now to stop that evil UFO. Captain Underpants went outside and saw the UFO. It opened up. Click. And out jumped the Turbo Toilet 2000! I'll fuss you. I'll fuss you, dude. They had a big fight. Captain Underpants was faster than the speedy Wistbane. More powerful than boxer shorts. Tra-la-la. Kick. And able to leap tall buildings without getting a wedgie. Captain Underpants stuck up behind the Turbo Toilet 2000 and gave him a wedgie. Wedgie power! Ouchie! Stop! Stop it. Don't go inside. Then he hung the Turbo Toilet TT2000 on 4-stop sign and pulled the back hard. Stretch and he let go. Kaboom! The spaceship blew and all the turbo toilets returned to normal. Hooray! Even the gym teacher escaped. Oh man, the end. Not the end of the story, the end of the comic.